She planned the hike. She checked in. She never left the trail. 9 days later, rescuers found her wedged alive inside a hidden rock shaft, too tight to breathe, too deep for screams to escape. But before she collapsed, she asked one question that changed everything. Did he come back? Before we begin, pause for just a moment and think about this. How many people disappear not because they're reckless, but because they trusted someone who sounded harmless? Welcome back to the channel. Here, we explore true crime disappearances, survival stories, and real-world mysteries hidden in places most people believe are safe. If you're drawn to stories that unfold slowly, reveal uncomfortable truths, and stay with you long after the video ends, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who loves true crime as much as you do. Tonight's story takes us deep into the American Southwest, where silence stretches for miles and help can be just out of reach. It's about a woman who prepared for everything: maps, GPS, emergency gear, yet still vanished without a trace. Her name was Megan Holloway. What happened to her wasn't an accident, and it wasn't bad luck. It involved a trail that didn't exist, a man who never touched her, and a place underground where screams don't travel upward. Stay until the very end, because the final revelation in this case changes the way investigators understand wilderness disappearances forever. Now, let's begin. Megan Holloway was not the kind of person who wandered aimlessly. At 29 years old, she had already built a career most photographers twice her age still dreamed of. Her landscape work appeared in conservation magazines, gallery exhibitions, and national park visitor centers across the Southwest. Friends described her as precise. Planners described her as cautious. Rangers described her as one of the careful ones. On September 14, 2014, Megan arrived alone at the Escalante Backcountry Ranger Station in southern Utah. She signed the trail register with deliberate handwriting. Solo hike. Harris Wash, Fence Canyon. Estimated return: before sunset. She spoke briefly with a ranger, asked about flash flood risks, weather windows, and water sources. She took notes. Nothing about her behavior suggested danger. At 7:42 a.m., Megan posted a photo online: red cliffs glowing under early sunlight. Caption: nowhere to be. Nowhere to rush. That image would later be printed, laminated, and taped to a search and rescue command board. It was the last verified sign of Megan Holloway alive. The Grand Staircase, Escalante region, is deceptively peaceful. By day, it's breathtaking: towering sandstone walls, narrow canyons carved by water over millions of years, silence so complete it almost hums. But that beauty hides danger. Cell signals vanish quickly. GPS becomes unreliable in slot canyons. Sound doesn't travel upward. And once the sun dips below the canyon rim, temperatures drop fast. Megan knew all of this. She carried a satellite beacon, emergency rations, extra water filtration, and a camera bag weighing nearly 30 pounds. That's why her disappearance stunned everyone. When sunset came and went without her return, rangers initially assumed a delay. Photographers often lingered to catch light. By the next morning, her vehicle remained untouched at the trailhead. By the second night, unease crept in. By the third day, search and rescue teams were activated. Search dogs picked up Megan's scent quickly. Too quickly. They tracked her movements cleanly along Harris Wash, exactly where she said she'd go. Footprints were visible in sand. Camera tripod marks matched her gear. Then the trail did something strange. Instead of continuing toward Fence Canyon, Megan veered sharply east, into an unnamed side passage not listed on official maps. It wasn't random wandering. It was a decision. Search coordinators flagged it immediately. Experienced hikers don't change routes without reason. Especially not someone like Megan. On day 4 of the search, a hiker came forward. His name was Dale Whitaker, a 52-year-old retired schoolteacher from Apache Junction. He told rangers he'd spoken to Megan briefly that morning. "She asked me if Fence Canyon was worth the extra miles," he said calmly. Whitaker described himself as a casual hiker who knew the area well. "I told her the crowds weren't worth it," he continued, but mentioned an old survey route locals use. Quieter. Shaded. Investigators paused. There was no survey route in that area. Whitaker shrugged when questioned. "Doesn't show up on maps," he said. "But it's real." At the time, no one challenged him. That would be a mistake. The side canyon Megan entered was narrow, no more than 8 feet wide in places. Its walls rose nearly vertical, smooth from centuries of erosion. Search teams nearly missed it. What caught their attention wasn't movement. It was silence. At the canyon center, the ground changed texture. Sand gave way to compacted debris, leaves, gravel, driftwood. A natural disguise. Beneath it, a vertical limestone chimney nearly 18 feet deep. At first, rescuers thought it was empty. Then someone smelled decay. Megan Holloway wasn't dead. She was wedged sideways inside the chimney, her torso pinned so tightly she couldn't fully inhale. Her right arm was fractured. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. Her voice was gone. She had survived 9 days underground. Condensation dripping from the stone above her mouth had kept her alive. Rescuers worked for hours, chiseling rock inch by inch. When Megan was finally freed, her eyes opened briefly. Her first words were barely audible. "Did he come back?" At the hospital in Salt Lake City, Megan drifted in and out of consciousness. Detectives waited. When she was stable enough to speak, they asked her about Whitaker. Her account didn't match his story. "He wasn't calm," Megan whispered. "He kept looking at his watch." She explained that Whitaker hadn't just mentioned a route. He had walked with her partway. "He said he was meeting someone," she said. "But he stopped and waited." "Waited for what?" "For me to keep going." Detectives dug deeper. Whitaker wasn't just a hiker. He had been questioned, quietly, in 3 prior missing persons cases. No charges. No evidence. Just proximity. All involved solo hikers. All involved unmarked terrain. All involved vanished routes. They obtained a warrant. Whitaker lived in a travel trailer hidden off a service road miles from the nearest town. Inside, investigators found hiking poles labeled with dates, water bottles etched with names, audio recordings of echoes, voices calling for help underground, maps with false routes marked in pencil. Whitaker never pushed anyone. He redirected them. And he always returned, not to rescue, but to listen. Here's what the public never learned. Megan wasn't the first person found alive. She was the only one who stopped responding. Whitaker relied on panic, movement, sound, desperation. Megan went silent, and silence saved her life. Whitaker vanished before arrest. His trailer was found empty. No body, no confession. Just the desert, keeping another secret. If this story disturbed you, it should have. Because Megan Holloway didn't survive because she was stronger or luckier than the others. She survived because she recognized something crucial, too late for many before her. In wilderness disappearances, danger doesn't always come from cliffs, storms, or animals. Sometimes, it comes from a voice that sounds helpful. If you believe stories like this matter, stories that don't just entertain but educate and warn, then take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who spends time outdoors. New true crime stories are posted regularly. Disappearances, survival cases, and mysteries still unsolved. And remember this lesson. In remote places, the most dangerous thing isn't being alone. It's following the wrong person. Stay alert. Stay curious. And stay tuned.